YouTube is Saiyan here, coming at you with another Dragon Ball CCG episode. I have been spending a lot of time thinking about this card game in the past couple of weeks, as you can see on the context that I'm posting as well, with the new Goku SSJ3 video being out. I'm tinkering with the cards again, and I thought that I had a few comments back in the days a couple of years ago asking where people can get these cards from and stuff like that. And I've recently done some search on the internet, and you can still find starter sets. You can still find a few booster boxes if you really look around. If you're really committed to the game, you can find the resources available for you. So what I've thought of doing today is this is going to be a mini series, let's call it like that. I'm going to be reviewing the starter deck, and I'm going to be upgrading the starter deck. So if you're unfamiliar with, there were two starter decks released with the Warrior's Return. One was a Goku and another was a Frieza, which I'm going to do another episode on later on. So if we look at what came with the starter deck in the Goku, you basically got the version 1.1 rulebook. You got a Dragon Ball coin sheet, so you got 7 Dragon Balls. You got like a relatively low quality playmat made out of basically paper, but it's still good to start a game with, and it recognizes all the different zones and whatnot. You can push two together and create for yourself a really good sort of little game area. But most importantly, you got a 30 card starter deck with this booster, sorry, not booster box, this starter box. So you can see the content just there. 30 card Goku deck. You got an exclusive wish card for set B. This is being set B. Set A is the Frieza starter deck, and as I said, you can still very much find these. So I'm gonna give you some tips and advice if you can get one of these, but even more importantly, if you can get 3 of these, what kind of a deck can you build out of 3 starter B Goku decks? And you would be surprised at the result. Actually, it's an alright deck that you can put together. Obviously, it's not gonna be super amazing, but it gives you a relatively good deck that you can get into the game with and have some fun playing with. And if you can get 3 Frieza starters as well, I'm gonna post a video on that as well, what you can do with that. And I'm gonna do a collective video if you do have a chance to maybe buy a booster box of the Warrior's Return. Uh, Basically building or improving these decks that I'm going to show you with some of the common and uncommon and maybe a few rare cards that you find in them. I'm deliberately not going to include any super rares in case you don't pull them from the box, but if you do manage to get 3 of them, for today's video we're just going to focus on this. What is the context of one starter deck and what can you do if you can get 3 of these? Okay, so let's get cracking, shall we? So this is by the way, this is the game that came out with the Warrior's Return. It's got the epic turn 6 Super Saiyan Goku, one of the chase rares from that set. But for now, let's just see what's in the starter B. So you get 2 turn 0 Yamchas. He's an alright turn 0 warrior. Injured stats still being the same as his active stats. The only thing is if you end up battling against a female warrior, he's gonna get -1/+0. And then we got 2 Poor. There is more to this card than what meets the eye, really, to be fair. If he's unopposed, then he gets +0/+3. So can be a good combination if you play him with Yamcha, maybe following up on the next turn. Then you get 2 Mais. I have no idea why they included 2 Mais in here. I have no idea why they splashed Villain in here when you already have Super and Earth. And I also don't really understand why it's a 30 card starter deck anyway. Why couldn't they put in another 10 cards? I suppose they thought that you can get some boosters and upgrade this starter deck with, but I think it's just a silly idea. So anyway, you got two Mice, two villains, absolutely rubbish. Put these to the side as soon as you open them. Then you got two Chaozus, again pretty decent injured stats, and that's all about it. He is a turn 1 drop, and that's as much as he does for you. Then we got two Ramfans, two Earth Ramfans. She's pretty sweet. For a turn 1, I suppose. She can dish out a -1/-1 to any human plus male warrior that she's opposed against. And even with the injured stats, she can support for 1 value, so that is not too bad. Then we got a Master Roshi. Master Roshi is a pretty sweet card in here, actually. It allows you to pump for free. If he's got a Dragon Ball coin, pump a Hermit style warrior with +1/+0 until the end of turn. So he can pump himself as well, but he can also pump another few warriors that you get in the starter set. So we're definitely going to be relying on Roshi to do some good stuff for us in this deck, and he's our first turn 2 warrior. Then we got two Master Shans, and again, I have absolutely no idea why they splashed the villain in here. To be fair, if you look at him, he's got quite decent stats. He can still support pretty well even after he gets injured, but we are not going to need a Master Shan. And then one of my favorite cards ever, Krillin. Not that he's a great warrior in the anime, but I certainly love the artwork, and this card is specific to this starter deck, so you can't get this card anywhere else. You can also tell this by looking at this little red dot here. The little red dot tells you that this card is basically exclusive to the starter deck. There is a few more cards like this, but they're certainly not as good as Krillin. So he's your, I believe he's your main turn 3 drop. Injured stats, not really good for a turn 3 card, but he comes down as a 4/2, and whenever he uses a technique, target opposing warrior will get -1/-1 on the end of turn. And he's Hermit style as well, so Master Roshi can pump him. Moving on, we got two Tians. He's also your turn 3 drops. Absolutely brilliant injured stats. Basically, he can still be your lead warrior even after being damaged. Besides that, he's a vanilla. All he's got is a human male and Master Shan style, which is never really used in this game anyway. And then we got two Cells, your first, basically your only 4 drops in your starter. Again, amazing injured stats, and he's a really good support warrior. He's the best support warrior you will find in the not just in the starter set, but besides Frieza. He's the best support warrior in this whole edition, the first set of the Warrior's Return. And then the big super rare, again exclusive to the starter set. You get a Kaioken Goku, basically. It's, he's alright, 5 drop, but he costs you a chi. I mean, if he wouldn't cost you a chi, it would be probably a lot better, but even then, he's really only good because he's Hermit style. He's got super heal and toughness. His ability can only be used if you're defending in your strategy phase, if he has a Dragon Ball, so super limited actually when you can use it, and it still costs you a chi, an any color chi, to basically be able to move him to any of your teams in any position. So the best you can achieve with him is if you have like an injured, you run into an attack where you didn't expect your opponent to have maybe a technique, you get surprised or anything, you can use him to drop into your team to be a lead character, or just give that extra 2 support, because you can essentially, with him, you can make a team of 4. Obviously, when you're defending, you don't have to rearrange your teams that have more than 3 warriors included until your organization phase in your turn when you're the attacker. So yeah, I mean, it can be surprising, and we're certainly going to be using him a lot in this deck, as he's the top of the curve, really being a 5 turn card. And then down to techniques, you get to Power of the Instinct. Again, this is exclusive to the starter set. starter deck. One of the rare turn 0 techniques, actually. There aren't too many that were printed in this game. And well, what this can do for you, I suppose, it's one of those cards where there is no point to really use it. If you have a good team of warriors, you wouldn't need the extra planet damage that this card can give you. Plus, if you lose, then you lose a planet damage. But for the purpose of this deck, we're still going to be using Power of the Instinct. It's not a horrific card. It's not a horrific card, and it can get you a faster win as well. Then we got 2 Jank and Goose, definitely staple even in the turn 5 set era. Just a straight on first turn 1 drop for 1 chi gives any of the user +2/+0, so pretty sweet card actually, even with it in today's standards. And we got 2 Super Holy Water, which is actually not a bad pump technique. You can splash it into any deck because it only costs you a generic chi, so whatever chi you can use for it. Turn 1, and gives out +1/+1, so you can either use it for your lead character or you can use it for any of your support characters as well. And it grants +1/+1 additionally for each Super Holy Water in your discard pile. So the last Super Holy Water you play will give you +3/+3, which is not too bad actually. Then we got a Kamehameha, which is they could have done a much better job with this card. Artwork is great, but it's very expensive. It requires Hermit style, and it gives 1 damage to an opposing warrior with a turn cost of 3 or less. So it's actually not too great, but again, we'll be using a few of these in the enhanced deck. Then we got 2 Senzu Beans. Pretty much the only heal technique until set 5, where Regeneration of Lost Limbs came out. You can splash it into any deck, but it's a turn 4 tool. Maybe you want to put it into your tool build, but yeah, you know, it's probably worth to run 1 in any of your decks if you really have the space for it. And then we got 2 combinations, 2 events, just absolutely crap, really. Again, exclusive to the starter deck, so there's no way that you can get this garbage card from anywhere else. It allows you to switch the position of 2 target warriors you control in the team. It's not even a surprise because your opponent is going to see that's out there, so obviously going to play around it. So yeah, it is what it is. So if you look at the enhancement of this deck, and the only reason why you really need to buy 3 if you want to go down this route, obviously you don't have to, is in the case if you I'm trying to organize the cards here, but I got lost a little bit. I don't know what I've included and what not. So Tien, Cell, Goku. Alright, we're on track, guys. We're on track. We're getting there. Apologies. But to show off the cards, I needed to take the deck apart to show you what was the content of the original starter deck. And now I can show you the enhanced version that you can get if you get 3 of these starter decks. And the main reason why you need to get 3 is to be able to get 3 of the cards that I'm going to be highlighting here. So for turn 1s, you'll be starting with 3 Yamchas. It just gets you a decent start with the 2/1, and that's pretty much what you can expect from Yamcha. Nothing more. 3 Puar. If you get away with him being unopposed, then the pump can be pretty sweet, making him a 0/4 support. Otherwise, 0/1 still goes alright with your turn 0 Yamcha, so you can get a team of 3, which for the starter decks is not that bad, to be honest. Then we are running 3 Chaozus, just because he's a really good warrior even after he gets injured, so you can throw him to the main battle, and then, you know, even if he gets damaged, he can still support the rest of your team. Then we got 2 ram fans, and the reason why it isn't 3 is because in case you don't battle against human plus male warriors. So if you end up buying 3 Goku and 3 Frieza starter decks, and you build the decks that I'm showing off to you guys, then your Ramfan's not gonna do squadly do against the Frieza deck, because it doesn't have any humans in it really. Maybe it's got some males, but it certainly doesn't have any humans. So Ramfan is really just there to be a support warrior. And now one of the main reasons why you should buy 3 starters if you want to, is because of Master Roshi. Obviously, I've already mentioned previously that he's a relatively decent card in this starter set. He's actually a rare card, so you can find him even in even if you buy a couple of boosters of the Warriors Return. But you will certainly be granted to have him if you get the starters. So really good to have him come down. He's Hermit style, so he can pump himself. He can be a 4/2, so pretty decently character. The only problem is that his ability is not valid, so if he gets damaged, it means that you won't be able to pump with him any longer. So make sure that you look after your Master Roshi, so you can always pump your other Hermit style warriors with him. And then we got 3 Krillin. I think he's pretty much essential for the deck, just being Hermit style, so Master Roshi can pump him, and also the fact that whenever he uses a technique, he will basically give target opposing warrior -1/-1. So if you think about it, that's almost like a pump for him. With Master Roshi, he's a 5/2, plus he gives out -1/-1. So it's almost like have it being a 6/3. I know it's not, because your opponent's warrior gets -1/-1, but you know, basically that's what's happening. So he's a very good card. You can only get this card if you buy the starter deck. So yeah, you definitely need him if you want to run this deck. Then we got 2 TN. And we got 2 TN because we want 3 Krillin. Now you can decide what you want to do. You can run 3 TN and 2 Krillin if you like TN's injured stats more, but don't forget that Krillin is Hermit style, TN is Master Shen style, and this game doesn't do anything with Master Shen style. Yeah, he's good to be there just so you have another 2 turn 3 drops, but besides that, I would always go for Krillin. And then we got 3 cells. The only positive I can see with Villain being splashed into this deck is that you get access to cell. He's, like I said, he's a very good support warrior. He's the best support warrior in the starter deck, so definitely a 3 of. And he's your only turn 4 drop. And then turn 5, unfortunately turn 5 is really how far we can go with this setup, but for turn 5 we got 3 Gokus. Again, he's Hermit style, so Master Roshi can pump him, and he can be useful to be dropped into other teams and either make a team of 4, gives you a better chance of defending, or if somebody gets damaged, just throw him in there, be a lead warrior or whatever. But his super heal ability can be quite useful, and he's got toughness, so even if he gets 2 or more damage, it's reduced by 1. But his super heal is quite useful in this deck actually, and I will explain in a second why. Then we run 3 Power of the Instinct, just basically because there is nothing better to run really. It's not a terrible card, but you know, 9 times out of 10 you'll probably charge it into chi from your hand. There's probably that 1 out of 10 where you actually throw it in the action phase, after all the pumps were, you know, ran out, and if you're 100% sure you're gonna win, throw it in and you get an extra damage to your opponent's planet. Make sure you don't lose, because then you suffer the planet damage loss yourself. And then of course we're on the 3 Jankengu because it's a great technique. It does a great job even with today's standard, as I said before. So it's definitely worth running it. Then we got 3 Super Holy Waters. Again, it is it gets increasingly better the more you use of the Super Holy Waters. Plus the fact that you can basically use this to even pump your support warriors with the +1/+1 ability. And of course, if you can use Jankengu or if you can use Super Holy Water with Krillin, that is probably one of the best combos you're gonna get out in this starter set, because Krillin will then also give -1/-1 to the opposing character. So if you got Master Roshi down with Krillin, pump Krillin with Master Yoshi, make sure Krillin uses the technique. So you can do some sweet stuff in there actually, if you really want to. And then of course we're on the 3 Kamehamehas, obviously being a card that's quite low in power. Still, you got 3 Master Roshi, 3 Krillin, and 3 Goku that can use it because they're all Hermit style, and you have a pretty good chance of getting at least one of them down. Obviously, the best one again to be used with would be Krillin, but the problem is that it can only really deal with warriors that have a turn cost of 3 or less. Still, it's alright. It's alright for a starter deck card. So yeah. And then last but not least, we got 3 Senzu Beans. As I said, Goku's super heal ability can be used with the Senzu Beans. You can heal Goku, and then Goku gets a growth coin. So that's what super heal means. Obviously, only Saiyans have this ability. If they get healed, or once they get healed, they get a growth coin. So you can actually pump Goku permanently with your 3 Senzu Beans. Just make sure that Goku's the one that gets damaged. If you have a Senzu Bean in your hand, make sure you use it. You can use it in strategy and action phase as well, and you can use any chi for it, even if you have villain chi or you have super chi, whatever, because it's 2 generic chi that you can play this card with. So there are a few neat little things that you can do in this little setup. Obviously, don't expect anything majestic from this, but if you're new to the game and if you want to get into it, I understand it's very much a game of the past, but people like to get into deck card games, old card games, and if you do want to get into it, there is a possibility to get into it, and you can put together a relatively usable deck. And when I'm going to get to the Frieza deck, you're going to see for yourselves that if you get basically just the starters, you can put together a nice little 40 card deck that you need to have in this game really to be able to play it. And you can have the Goku deck, you can have the Frieza deck, give one to your friends, and just have a go at it. It's really cheap, these starters, the places that have them around, they still probably go for about $10, $15, no more than that. Online shops, they just want to get rid of it, so you can probably get a deal for yourself. Maybe they will throw in something else as well. It really is just message them and find out what the situation is. So the next time when I get back to you guys, I'm gonna show off the Frieza starter and the upgrades that I would recommend making to it, and then there will be 1 or maybe 2 more videos where I take these decks, this one, the upgraded version, and the Frieza one, and I'm gonna use a couple of cards from the first booster box, the Warriors Awaken. The Warriors Return, and do some more upgrades to this deck and to the Frieza deck, of course, once you've seen it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure you like, subscribe, and leave comments, whatever you want to do, guys. This is Boss Saiyan. Peace out. Take care.